This is the Waykar 120 Pints Energy Star Dehumidifier. It's white with black accents, a compact rectangular body, and a louvered top that opens to push air out. It stands about knee-high to me, with a visible front tank window so I can see water levels at a glance. The body feels solid for a plastic appliance, and the 4 caster wheels roll smoothly on hard floors. There are recessed side handles that make it easier to grab, and the cord tucks away neatly so it doesn't dangle. In my opinion, the style blends in like a small air conditioner rather than a clunky utility box, which I appreciate in a living space. I live in Arizona, and humidity is only a headache part of the year, monsoon season and right after big rains, so I wanted something that doesn't draw attention when it's not the star of the room. From my experience, this one fits that role. It's rated for spaces up to 6,000 square feet and up to 120 pints per day, under 95 degrees Fahrenheit and 90% relative humidity. Quick explainer, that 120 pint number is measured in very warm, very humid test conditions. In a typical home, the daily water collection will be lower, but the rating still tells you it's a strong unit. The tank is 1.14 gallons, about 4.3 liters, which is fine for occasional use, but it fills fast if the space is really damp. I connect the included drain hose when I'm running it longer, and that turns it into a set and forget solution. Setup for me was simple. I positioned it with space behind it for airflow, leveled it, and plugged it into a standard 3-prong outlet. On the touch panel, I set a target humidity of 45% for living areas and 50% for the garage. If you're new to this, that number is just the moisture level in the air you want the room to stay at. Once you set it, the machine reads the current humidity and cycles the compressor on and off to maintain your target. The swing feature opens the top louvers and gently oscillates airflow, which helps push dry air across the room instead of blasting one spot. There are multiple fan speeds. I leave it on the middle setting most of the time. Noise-wise, my phone meter showed high 50s dBA at about 3 feet on high, which is a low whoosh rather than a harsh droning. I can have a conversation or watch TV without feeling like I'm competing with it. A few days of monsoon moisture gave me a good test. In the master bedroom and hallway, the unit pulled about a tank and a half in an afternoon before I switched to the hose. The air felt less muggy within the first hour, and the musty smell from a damp rug disappeared after a day. In the garage, the unit worked harder and ran the compressor more often, but the results were obvious. Tools felt dry to the touch, and my pegboard stopped feeling tacky. The machine's auto defrost kicked in once during a cooler overnight session, which is normal when coils get too cold. It pauses briefly to warm the coils and protects the system. There's also overload protection baked in, and if power flickers, it restarts to the previous setting, which matters in areas with unstable summer storms. Key features that stand out to me are the Energy Star certification, the touch controls with a clear humidity display, the auto swing on the top vent, and the timer. Energy Star means it meets efficiency standards that help keep electric use in check. At a listed 350 watts, it's efficient for its capacity. If you're new to dehumidifiers, a simple way to think about it is this. A more efficient unit pulls the same amount of moisture with less electricity, which you'll feel on the bill when you run it for hours. The 24-hour timer lets me schedule it to start drying before I get home or shut off in the middle of the night. The washable filter slides out quickly. I rinse it every few weeks to keep airflow strong. The water tank has a float sensor to stop operation when it's full, and there's a front indicator so I can see when to empty it. If you plan to leave it running, using the continuous drain is the move. The included 3.3-foot hose is fine for a nearby floor drain or a short run to a sink. If you need distance or elevation, a condensate pump is worth considering. It's perfect for large rooms, open basements, garages, or a whole level drying in a single-story home. I've used it in my living room when we had guests over and didn't want that sticky feeling from cooking and people traffic, and it kept the air crisp. I alternate it into the laundry room when I'm drying lots of towels because it speeds up drying and reduces that heavy, wet air that lingers. In my opinion, keeping indoor humidity steady also helps the AC feel cooler because dry air doesn't cling to your skin. That means you can sometimes nudge the thermostat up a degree and still feel comfortable. I do have a few notes from everyday use. The tank is on the small side relative to the machine's pulling power, so if your space is very wet, expect to empty it often or commit to the hose. The unit weighs about 34 pounds, which isn't feather light, but the wheels and handles make moves from room to room manageable. The control panel is intuitive, though the first time I set the swing and timer together, I had to glance at the manual. After that, muscle memory took over. The casing wipes clean with a cloth, and the finish doesn't show smudges easily, which I like. From my experience, the sweet spot is setting a realistic target humidity and letting the machine work in cycles rather than running full blast nonstop. In a bedroom, 45 to 50% feels comfortable. In a garage or basement with storage, 50 to 55% keeps rust and mildew at bay. If you're sensitive to noise when you sleep, use low fan speed and the timer so it's not cycling at your lightest sleep phase. If you're away, use continuous drain with the tank seated properly. That avoids any chance of the tank being out of place and stopping the unit. I'd recommend this for homeowners in humid regions, desert areas with seasonal spikes, anyone with a basement that smells musty after rain, people who store gear or instruments, and anyone battling condensation on windows and damp drywall. It's also reliable for laundry rooms, kitchens after big cooking sessions, and crawl spaces where moisture creeps in. The combination of Energy Star efficiency, a strong compressor, and user-friendly controls gives it an edge for long-term use. In my opinion, the Waykar 120 Pints Energy Star Dehumidifier hits the important marks. It's effective at removing moisture, it's straightforward to operate, and it's efficient enough to run without stressing about the power bill. The small tank is the trade-off for a compact design, so the included hose is more than a nice-to-have. It's how you unlock worry-free operation. The oscillating vent spreads dry air better than fixed vents I've used, and the filter maintenance is simple. The build looks good enough for living spaces and tough enough for utility areas, which is exactly what I wanted. In conclusion, this is a capable, smartly designed dehumidifier that does the job without making a fuss. It gets rooms to a comfortable humidity, helps stop that sticky, heavy feel, and protects your home and belongings from moisture over time. It's perfect for big rooms and open floor plans, and it scales down well for day-to-day use in bedrooms and laundry areas. If you want strong performance, easy controls, and the option to let it drain continuously, this is a solid pick. I'm keeping it in my regular rotation through Arizona's soggy months and pulling it out whenever the air feels heavier than I like. I will share detailed information about the Waykar 120 Pints Energy Star Dehumidifier in the comments section, everyone. Thank you for watching.